Okay, so a very good afternoon to you, and we will be studying AS25. Now this is one of the relatively new standards, okay. This was earlier not there in your CA Inter syllabus. This is a standard which has now been introduced along with AS15 and AS28. These are relatively new standards. But among the three or four new standards that you have, this is the easiest of the lot. This is what you call as interim financial reporting. What do you mean by an interim financial period? AS25, accounting standard 25. We have never had any exam question. This is the first time it has ever come in the CA Inter syllabus. So you don't have as such a RTP reference, you don't have as such a main exam reference, at least till now. Other standards include AS15, which has come for the first time, AS28, which is first time, AS23 for first time, AS27 for first time. These are new standards. It's the easiest of the lot. So as the name goes, what do you mean by interim financial statements? So what is a financial year? So financial year is a period which is a 12-month period. Can I say that is correct? Not necessarily. Usually the financial year is a 12-month period. However, for example, in the year of incorporation, if a company gets incorporated, for example on 15 September, then its first financial year will be from, what do you think, 15 September to 14 September of the next year? No, it will be 15 September to, let us say, 31st March. And as a result, it is barely a 6.5 month period. So do you call that as an interim period? Do you call this as an interim period? No, this will be annual financial statement. Sir, annual का मतलब क्या होता है? Well, annual does not, a financial year does not necessarily mean a period of, let us say, 12 months. It means a period which is a financial year. So if your period, let us say, is shorter than a financial year, then that is treated as an interim period. So an interim period would be a period which is, let us say, shorter than a financial year. A financial year typically is a 12-month period, but let us say in the year of incorporation, in the year of liquidation, it is not a 12-month period. So does that mean that it is a financial year of 6.5 months? Yes. So is that period called as an interim period? No. That is treated as the full financial year. Similarly, sometimes as a company you would want to change the year end. Like a lot of international companies, MNCs who have set up in India, their year ending is 31st December, calendar year ending. However, for us, the year ending is typically 31st March. So you will have to make 1 year, maybe at a different base. Like you can start 1st January 2022 till 31st March 2023. That's a 15-month period. Once you do that, then every subsequent period is a smooth 12-month period. But when you have to change from, let us say, a 31st December year ending to, let us say, a 31st March year ending, you might make accounts for a 15-month period. That means your financial year is a 15-month period. So when we look at an interim financial year, interim financial period would be a period shorter than a financial year. A financial year is a 12-month period, so anything which is shorter than a financial year is basically usually a 12-month period, and hence anything shorter than 12 months is usually an interim period, but that is not necessarily the case. In the year of incorporation, in the year of liquidation, in the year when you are changing your financial year, the time period may be more or less than 12 months. That's fine. So period shorter than a financial year would be treated as an interim period. So what is an interim period? An interim period is defined as a period shorter than a financial year, not necessarily shorter than 12 months. For example, in the year of incorporation, the financial year starts from the date of incorporation up to 31st March. This is not an interim period as it represents the entire financial year irrespective of whether it is shorter than 12 months or not. Are we clear with this? Yes? Okay. So this is about the interim period. Now, we have not yet probably gone to the stage where we look at an annual report or even a Schedule 3 format of financial statements. That is linked to full chapters that are there. We have not yet gone into that stage. But if you have ever seen, probably glance through an annual report at your home, you would see it's a fairly big booklet. Is that to be prepared at every quarter, every half year? That is, annual report is for the entire financial year. So if a company is preparing quarterly statements, is quarter an entire financial year or is it an interim period? Interim period. So when I look at a quarter, it is typically interim period. So the amount of disclosure, presentation that you do in an interim period, should it be as detailed as you do it in an entire financial year? No, it can be much more summarized, right? Just say for example, I'm not sure अभी education has changed significantly, but जैसे आप स्कूल में थे तो कभी कभार you had unit test and maybe as compared to let us say annual when you are doing annual evaluation तो आपको जो grading होता था, marking होता था, which was much more detailed as compared to maybe monthly or mock exams or quarterly exams, unit exams that might happen. And as a result, the standard says that, well, if you want, some schools might want to give detailed feedback even at unit tests. If you want, you can give a complete set of financial statements, even if you are preparing for interim period. But that is not necessary. If you also want alternatively, you can prepare a condensed financial statements. What do you mean by condensed? You will just give summarized data. Like when you prepare a balance sheet, you write down inventories. Have you heard the word inventories? Yeah. Now within inventories, there is a lot of detailing, like raw material, finished goods, work in progress, etc. You don't need to give this breakup in condensed financial statements. When you are preparing complete financial statements, you'll have to give a breakup. You'll say कि अच्छा inventory में क्या क्या आता है, raw material, finished good, WFP कितना, all of that you will have to give. Or in property, plant and equipment, you'll have land and building, plant and machinery, motor vehicles. In condensed financial statements, you can just write down total property, plant and equipment. That's fine. You don't need to give the individual breakup of individual items. Are we getting this? So it is just giving the heading like non-current assets and subheading like property, plant and equipment. Heading like a current asset and subheading like inventory. Beyond that, you don't need to give more detailing. So that way, condensed financial statements is a much more smaller form of a financial statement. Are we clear with this? So when we look at the presentation and disclosure, this presentation and disclosure is not applicable to listed companies. Do you understand what is meant by listed companies? Companies which are quoted on the stock exchange, the NSE, BSE, etc. These presentation and disclosure guidelines are not applicable to listed companies. Why? Because for listed companies, there is a special presentation format. Acha, in law, there is this rule called as specific format, or specific law will override general law. So a specific provision will always override general provision. So specifically, if the listing agreement prescribes a particular format, that quarterly report for listed companies has to be given in this format only, then that specific format will override the general format which is given. And as a result, listed companies which have to prepare quarterly financials, आपने सुना रहेगा न्यूज़ वगैरह आप देखते हो, और in newspapers a lot of times quarterly earnings reports etc. do come. Now these quarterly earnings, these quarterly reports are given because listed companies have to mandatorily publish their results on a quarterly basis. Are we getting this? So they need to publish their results on a quarterly basis. Now this is as per clause 41 of the listing agreement. So if I agree to list on the NSE or BSE, I agree implicitly to clause 41, whereby I say every quarter I will publish the financials in the prescribed format. So they will have to present it in that prescribed format. If you look at advertisements in economic times, every company you will see advertising their results, it will be in the same format. Quarter results will be that same, it's a small one-pager format that is given. So ये guidance किसको apply होएगा? If you are not a listed company and you are voluntarily preparing interim financial reports, remember additional disclosure can be given. If you want, you can give additional disclosure. So it is not mandatory in general to prepare quarterly statements. But I can still prepare quarterly, I can still prepare half yearly. Sometimes I can take loans from banks, and banks might require that every half year you have to submit your performance to me. And as a result, you might prepare every half yearly. Companies Act does not tell you. to prepare accounts half yearly. Companies Act says you have to prepare accounts annually and submit it to the Registrar of Companies, MCA, Ministry of Company Affairs, annually. But maybe banks require, maybe stock exchanges in their listing agreement require, maybe you want to give better presentation to your readers and you are disclosing. So you can present your financial statements on an interim period basis. Are we clear with this? So when you do presentation and disclosure for an interim period, this is not applicable to listed companies. You can prepare the complete financial statements, or you can prepare what is called as the condensed financial statements. So when we look at complete financial statements, these are detailed financial statements similar to what is shown in the annual report. But when you look at condensed financial statements, these are prepared by merely giving the heading and the subheading. That is usually the face of the income statement and balance sheet along with selected explanatory notes. You don't have to give all the notes to accounts. Like in notes, you have to show significant accounting policies. But usually year on year, do these policies keep on changing or do they remain the same? Generally, policies remain the same. Generally, you have to follow consistency. One of the fundamental accounting assumptions is consistency. Similar policy to be followed year on year. If the policies are changing, which is rare, then you have to apply AS5 and then give effect to a change in accounting policy, which is, let us say, retrospective. Are you clear with this? But otherwise policies are consistent. So if you are preparing a condensed financial statement, you can just directly state that the policies which are similar to the last annual report have been followed. You don't have to publicize and give all of these policies again, except if there are policies that have changed, like inventory has changed from FIFO to weighted average during the interim period, then you mention. But otherwise you can always say that the same policies as followed in the last annual financial statements have been followed. Further, if your business has any kind of seasonality, you understand seasonality? Like firecracker business. Firecracker अभी उसका चांदी है, अभी बहुत firecracker बिकेंगे. But then if you look at monsoons, if you look at summer months, do you have any material sales of firecrackers? No. And as a result, close to Diwali, the firecracker sales are at a all-time high. So if you are in the books of a company like Standard Firecrackers and it is preparing a report for this third quarter, that is a quarter from October to December, its sales would be very high. But then if I compare it with the sales of some other quarter, it will appear to be very low. So I'll have to tell the reader that my business is a seasonal business, like a mango business, seasonal business. In which case that disclosure will have to be given. In an annual financial year, it does not matter. A season will come and go. So year on year, it is generally comparable. Are we getting this? So selected explanatory notes to be given in condensed financial statements. Sir, why not annual financial statements? If you give complete financial statements, you don't have to give selected explanatory notes. You have to give all the notes. Everything that you show in the annual statement, you will also show in the interim statements. What do you guys think? Companies would generally prefer what? The condensed statement or the complete statements? Companies who are preparing would prefer the condensed statement or complete statement? मैं आपको यहाँ पे 1000 पेज का बुक दूँ, वो पसंद है या 200 पेज का बुक? 200 पेज. So here people generally prefer the condensed statements. इससे क्या इतना मेहनत कौन करेगा? बट अगर कोई हार्ड वर्किंग बोलेगा नहीं हमको तो 1000 पेज का बुक चाहिए. So that way it depends, but usually most companies do prefer to kind of get done with it fast, and hence they prefer condensed statements. Having said that, the law nowhere tells you have to follow condensed, you have to follow. In annual financial statements, you have no choice. In annual financial statements, you have to prepare complete statements only. There is nothing called as condensed statement when you are preparing the annual report. You have to give the detailed disclosures. Inventory है तो उसके अंदर how much is raw material, how much is finished good, how much WIP, if there's PP, how much is land, how much is machinery, everything has to be given. But in interim reports, you do have that choice. Are we clear with this? Acha. So you have to mention about accounting policies, only those policies which have been changed during the interim period should be disclosed. Second is seasonality. A separate note needs to be given for seasonal business. For example, firecrackers, you will give a separate note. Third, other mandatory notes to be given only for material items. For example, share issue, buyback, business combination, demerger, segment reports, contingent liabilities. So if there are certain material major items, then you give a note. For each and everything that was required, a note is not needed in case of condensed financial statements. In my opinion, this presentation part as well as this interim part is not important from an exam perspective. You should just know what is an interim period. That is a period which is shorter than a financial year. You should know that there are two options possible. That is a complete finance statements and a condensed finance statements. In complete finance statement, it is similar to an annual report. In a condensed finance statements, you just give the heading and subheading of these financial items. Are we clear with this? Okay. Recognition and measurement. Now this is what I would say is important. So if you get a sum on this, which I think you would, considering that it is a new addition, then it is highly likely that you will get a sum on this part, recognition and measurement. How will you recognize a particular item in your interim financial report? Now, do we understand basic accrual principles? What does accrual say? It says record expenses as and when they are incurred, record incomes as and when they are earned. So that accrual applies to a particular quarter. The same principle also applies to a particular year. So now there are certain general principles. यहाँ पे आपको पढ़ाया नहीं जाता. If your accounting is clear, you should be able to solve this. Like, will an expense be recorded in a particular quarter? The thought process is that if this expense could be recorded in a particular year, then it can be recorded in a quarter as well. Acha, can this expense be deferred over 4 financial years? Yes, I can defer this expense over 4 financial years. Then you can defer it over 4 quarters as well. For example, let us say there is salary. Now this is salary for year 1. Let us say 1000 rupees or 1200 rupees you are paying to an employee who has rendered service in the first year, to whom you have paid a salary, or he has rendered service for whom salary worth 1200 is due. Can you spread this salary over 4 financial years, or will you have to record it in the current year only? Current year only. If you can't spread this salary over 4 financial years, you can't spread it over 4 quarters as well. So instead of the first year, if this was first quarter salary, let us say 1200. This is maybe salary per month is 400 into 3 is 1200 rupees. So can you spread this salary over 3 or 4 quarters? Or the salary of the current quarter has to be recorded in the current quarter only. On the other hand, let us say we take the example of bonus. Let us say we have a habit of giving bonus to employees after every 4 years. Is that possible? Yes, usually companies give bonus every year, but let us say we have a habit of giving bonus every 4 years based on the performance. So in year 1, can you record any expense for bonus? Let's say first year has gone by. Bonus we can give if we like the service that the employee has given over 4 years at our whims and fancies. Performance bonus. Employee has given service over 1 year. Can any bonus expense be recorded? No. Why? Bonus is not a liability till the time it is declared. Till that time employee cannot demand a bonus. In the second year, can the employee recognize any bonus expense? Third year, can it recognize? Now in the fourth year, the company actually declares 400 rupees as bonus in the fourth year. Can it now recognize bonus expense in the fourth year? Yes. Acha, should you spread it over 4 years? No. It should be recorded as and when it is incurred. It is incurred when it is declared. Till that time there was no obligation, and hence bonus cannot be recorded in year 1, 2 and 3. It will be directly recorded in year 4. Now instead of 4 years, let us say this is an annual bonus and there are 4 quarters. In the first, second and third quarter, there is no bonus declared. But in the fourth quarter, a bonus is declared of 400 rupees. Can I spread this bonus over 4 quarters? No. Can I spread it over 4 financial years? So can I spread it over 4 quarters? No. If I can't spread an expense over 4 financial years, well, I can't even spread it over 4 quarters. Are we clear with this? On the other hand, you have purchased a property, and on this property, every year a property tax is payable of 1200 rupees. This is 1200 rupees per annum. This is usually paid at the end of the year. property tax is payable at the end of the year. This is a flat property tax irrespective of the value of your property. This is 1200 rupees. That is approximately 100 rupees per month. Now here, let's say this was a property tax which was to be paid at the end of the 4th year. Let us say at the end of the 4th year, you pay property tax for all the 4 years. Let's say year 1, property tax was payable, you did not pay. Year 2, it was payable, you did not pay. Year 3, it was payable, you did not pay. In year 4, you paid 4,800. Are we clear? 1200 into 4, 4,800. So, will I recognize the entire property tax expense in the 4th year, or will I recognize it over 4 years? Over 4 years. In first year, your entry will be property tax expense account debit, 1200 to property tax payable. Ideally, the expense is accrued. You pay it or you don't pay it. We are not following cash system of accounting. We are following accrual system of accounting. So, property tax we can say as accrued. In the second year, property tax expense account debit to property tax payable again. Has the property tax accrued? Yes. Third and fourth year, in the 4th year, you will pay property tax. So, that will be property tax expense account debit 1200. That is for the 4th year. Outstanding property taxes or property taxes payable for the earlier years, account debit and to bank. So basically your expense will be property tax expense account debit 1200 in the 4th year, property tax payable account debit 3600, to bank 4800. Are we clear with this? Now the property taxes are not payable. I mean, they are payable in the 4th year. But as per accrual, you can recognize it over 4 years as well. So if you can recognize it over 4 years, and this was, let us say, per annum, can you recognize it over 4 quarters as well? In the first quarter, can you recognize 300? Second quarter 300, third quarter, and then fourth quarter. Are we clear with this? So the simple rule that you have to follow, bearing a few exceptions, which you will study, is that if the expense is accrued in a particular year, can it be spread over multiple years? Answer is yes. Then you can spread over multiple quarters as well, like property tax. But if the expense cannot be spread over multiple years, like bonus, then it can't even be spread over multiple quarters, like bonus will be recorded in the 4th quarter only. Are we clear with this? Let us say there is a sale of land, there is this plot of land that you are working very hard to sell. ऐसा आपने देखा रहेगा, घर है, प्रॉपर्टी वो इतना आसानी से नहीं बिकता. You are trying very hard to sell this property. In the 4th year, you actually managed to sell this property, but you have been trying in the first 3 years as well. Can you recognize the gain or sale and spread it over all the 4 years? No. When will you recognize it? In the 4th year. In a similar way, if a property sold in the 4th quarter, if the property is sold in the 4th quarter, when will you recognize? In the 4th quarter only. Or let us say you win a huge lottery. आप KBC में 7 करोड़ जीत के आ जाते हो. You win a huge lottery, for example. Will you recognize it as an income in the current year, or will you spread it over 3 or 4 or 5 years? Current year. नहीं, but यार ये तो बहुत बड़ा income है. So what? Recognize incomes as and when they are earned. You have earned it. It may be an extraordinary income, it may be of a huge quantum, but if you have earned it, you have to recognize it in that year. Well, if there were 4 quarters, can you spread that KBC income over 4 quarters? No, if you can't spread it over 4 quarters, you can't even spread it over 4 years. Are we clear with this? Yes, okay. So these extraordinary gains will be recorded in the quarter/year when they are actually earned. Acha, what about dividend? Dividend on stocks. Is dividend accrued over time, or does dividend accrue when it is declared? Why? Because dividend is discretionary. So dividend accrues when it is declared, not over time. It may happen that the company earns a fairly good profit in the entire year, it does not declare any dividend. Can you recognize any receivable or any income? No. You can recognize it only once it is declared. But what about interest? Does interest accrue over time, or does interest accrue only when declared? Over time. So if I have given a loan, whether the other party pays me interest or it does not pay me interest, has interest for the year accrued? Yes. So can I recognize interest over 4 different years? then can I recognize it over 4 quarters? Similarly, dividend, the company does not pay any dividend in the first 3 years, it directly pays dividend in the 4th year. Can I recognize the dividend over all the 4 years? No. So can I recognize dividend over all 4 quarters? No, you can't. Are we clear with this? Now there is one exception to this rule. 1 or 2 exceptions mainly to this rule. That is, there are other items as well, but from a student's point, it is income tax. Why income tax? How does it matter? You spread it over quarters. What is your problem? अच्छा, have you done tax till now? No, but आपको basic knowledge है tax का. इंडिया में slab rate कितना चल रहा है पता? नहीं, कुछ सुना भी नहीं. Slab rate meaning, let us say if you earn a profit of 10 lakhs in a year, that is in the first quarter you earn 2 lakh 50, second quarter another 2 lakh 50, third quarter 2 lakh 50, fourth quarter 2 lakh 50. You earn 2 lakh 50 in each of the 4 quarters, which means your total annual income is 10 lakhs. Such an income tax is charged on the annual income, not on quarterly income. For an entire year, you have to file returns. Now, in India, there are various things, but let us say the income tax limits, and you don't have to necessarily remember these limits for accounting. They will generally tell you the limits, which may be different than the Indian income tax limits as well. So over here, the slab rates are for calculating income tax. If your profit is between 0 to 2.5, it is tax free. You don't pay any tax. Between 2.5 to 5 lakhs, you pay around 5% tax. Between 5 lakhs to 10 lakhs, you pay around 20% tax, and above 10 lakhs, you end up paying 30% tax. Are we clear with this? This is slab rate. So, आपको समझ में आ रहा? So now, if I follow that same principle, okay, no, income of a quarter, look at that only. First quarter will say my income is 2.5 lakhs. It is within the basic exemption limit and I don't have to pay tax. Second quarter will also say my income is 2.5 lakhs. I don't have to pay tax. Third quarter will also say I don't have to pay tax. So, चारों quarter बोलेंगे मुझे tax ही नहीं pay करना. But annually, ultimately, do you have to pay tax? अच्छा, so some students say, अच्छा, let us modify. We will say that the first quarter we will pay 0% tax. Second quarter we will earn 5% tax. Third quarter we will pay 20% tax. Fourth quarter also 20% tax. आपको समझ में आ रहा है? But when I look at the financial performance, I will say third quarter एकदम घटिया quarter था. First quarter was very good quarter. Is that a right comparison to make? Are first and the third quarter exactly same? हाँ, but first quarter में tax is 0%, third quarter में tax is 20%. Is that fair? No. Remember, the benefit of the basic exemption limit is not on a FIFO basis. It is available to income earned throughout the entire year. The first quarter cannot it cannot take the benefit of the entire basic exemption limit. And as a result, to say that first quarter is excellent because it is paying no tax and third quarter is very inferior because it is paying higher tax is wrong. Tax is actually levied on the annual income. And as a result, what will you have to do? You will have to calculate something called as a weighted average tax rate. When we did AS 16 borrowing cost, you remember that standard where you calculated weighted average borrowing rate? We said here various borrowings are there on which I'll have to pay various interest. So for every 1 rupee that I'm using out of borrowing, how much is the borrowing rate I'm paying? In a similar way, I say forget all of this. Don't do this. This is wrong. Take each quarter to be a part of the larger financial year. Take a quarter to be a part of a larger financial year, and as a result, you will first figure out what is the annual accounting income. What do you guys think? What is the annual accounting income? 10 lakhs. Now this may be estimated. Like first quarter may be actual, second, third, fourth quarter you might estimate it because you are now preparing first quarter financials. So we don't know आगे जाके कितना कमाएंगे. अरे बराबर कहते, but you can always estimate it, and those estimates can possibly change as well. So over here, this is annual accounting income is 10 lakhs. Annual tax. How much will be the annual tax? On the first 2.5 lakhs, it is how much? 0. On the next 2.5 lakhs, that is 5 minus 2.5. That is 2.5 lakhs. It is how much? 5%. On the next 5 lakhs, 10 minus 5, that is equal to 5 lakhs. It is how much? 20%. It's 2 lakh 50 into 5% and 5 lakhs into 20%. This comes to how much? 1,12,500. कुछ समझ में आया? We have tried to find out that on an annual income of 10 lakhs, how much tax are you paying? Well, 1,12,500. So the weighted average tax rate. What do you mean by weighted average? We say that we don't really see FIFO or anything. We say ultimately on a total income of 10 lakhs. Achha, in the 10 lakhs, is the first quarter 2.5 lakhs also there? Yes. In the 10 lakhs, even the third quarter 2.5 lakhs is also there. Yes. So we're saying we don't really figure out which quarter the income comes. We're saying overall throughout the entire year we are running 10 lakhs. On that 10 lakhs we're paying 1,12,500, and hence the rate is 11.25%. Can you tell me what this rate actually signifies? It means for every 1 rupee that you are earning, on an average you will pay 11.25% tax. Someone can say the first 2 lakh that you are earning or 2 lakh 50 you are paying no tax. The last 2 lakh 50 that you are paying 20% tax. But on an average, for an entire profit of 10 lakhs, you are paying 1,12,500. For every 1 rupee that you are earning as a part of that 10 lakhs, you are approximately earning 11.25%. Are we clear with this? This is called as a weighted average tax rate. What will you do? You will apply weighted average tax rate to incomes earned in each quarter. अभी काफी बच्चे यहाँ पे wrong assumption लेके बैठते हैं. They say, okay, that means you are saying, sir, that tax expense in each quarter has to be the same. No, I am not saying that. यहाँ पे coincidentally it may be the same because every quarter the income is 1 lakh. However, 2.5 lakhs. However, is it possible that your actual income in the first quarter is 1 lakh? You are estimating in the second quarter you will earn 2 lakhs. Third quarter you are estimating you will earn 3 lakhs. Fourth quarter you are estimating you are earning 4 lakhs. Let us say you are a sweater company. आपका मेन धंधा तो विंटर में ही होने वाला है. First 2 months you will hardly have any, first 2 quarters you will hardly have any business, but in the last 2 quarters you will have relatively more business. अरे बराबर क्या नहीं? And as a result, over here, if you want to figure out the quarterly tax, it is wrong to say that we will recognize this as directly 1,12,500 divided by 4. No. In quarter 1, 1 lakh of income was earned, and hence 1 lakh into 11.25%. Can I say 11,250 will be the expense to be recorded? In the second quarter, how much is actually earned? 2 lakhs. 2 lakhs into 11.25%. This comes to 22,500. In the third quarter, how much is earned? 3 lakhs into 11.25%, that comes to 37,500. In the fourth quarter, 4 lakhs is earned into 11.25%. This comes to what? 45,000. If I total all of this, 11,250, 22,500, 33,750, 33,750 plus 37,500 plus 45. This comes to what? 1 second. 3 lakh into 11.25%. This is 33,750, not 37,500. 33,750. If I total up, this is going to come to 1,12,500. So in the quarter that you are earning more, you are recording a higher tax burden. In the quarter that you are earning less, you are recording a lower tax burden. But why is the weighted average tax rate or taking the annual picture important? Because tax is not paid on quarterly income. Tax is actually paid on annual income. And let us say your annual income is 10 lakhs. The first quarter might say I am only earning 1 lakh, and as a result 0 tax. But ऐसा किधर बोला है? FIFO usage है. How can the first quarter, the second or third quarter might say no, some part of the basic exemption limit we can also enjoy because it is linked to annual income. And hence we say forget that. कि कौन क्या use करता है? Take an average number, which means we can say with confidence that if on the entire 12-month period we are earning 10 lakhs on which we are paying 1,12,500, that means for every 1 rupee that you are earning, you are paying 11.25% as tax. So in the first quarter, if you have actually earned 1 lakh rupees, your tax should be 1 lakh into 11.25%. Second quarter 2 lakhs, 2 lakhs into 11.25% and so on. Are yes or no? Okay. So taking that into consideration, if we review this, recognition and measurement. Now remember, this is applicable to listed and unlisted companies both who are preparing interim financial reports. Sir, आपने तो बोला था listed agreement, listed companies you follow different format. Yes, the format is different, but how to measure numbers, that is not different. You have a slightly different format. Like we have not done this. I think अभी वो सेंटर से निकल भी गया है. But your regular companies and banks are also companies. SBI is SBI Limited. But banks have a separate act called as a Banking Regulation Act, and as a result, Banking Regulation Act gives a different format of preparing the balance sheet. But at the end of the day, if interest income has to be measured, that will be measured as per regular accounting principles. The presentation format may be different, but how to recognize, how to account, those principles have to be the same. So the recognition and measurement principles are also even applicable to the listed companies. Now there are two views which are possible. Standard does not use these names. We have used these names. One view is called as the discrete view. Views each interim period as an independent period. Expenses or incomes accruing in the interim period should be recorded in that period. If the sale of fixed asset happens in the period, the gain will be recorded there. If property taxes are accruing during that period, gain will be recorded that. If dividend is declared, if lottery is won, you will record it. But if you can't spread it over 2 years, you can't even spread it over 2 quarters. Let me see if you understand this or not. Let's say in one financial year, you do massive advertisements. All ads are displayed, everything is done. Can you spread this advertisement expense over 3 or 4 years? Yes or no? No, you can't. AS26 हमने पढ़ा था. AS26 told you that deferred revenue expenditure करके कोई concept नहीं है. You can't spread this over 3, 5 or 4 years. You studied that in CA Inter, यानी CA Foundation, वो deferred revenue था. It was not an accounting standard. That was generally accepted accounting practice. AS26 does not allow. Remember we have discussed this. It does not allow you to defer these ads have been displayed. Then record expenses as and when they are displayed. Now there may be major advertisement. You can't spread this over 3 years. If you can't spread this over 3 years, you can't even spread this over 3 quarters. The same applies. जैसे अभी World Cup चल रहा है. Now if you look at bodies like ICC, look at bodies like FIFA, they make a lot of money every 4 years when the World Cup happens. But before that, they still have to pay salary to their employees. They have to maintain their head office and stuff. They have to pay expenses. Can FIFA say or ICC say in the first year, second year, third year, I have to pay salary but I will not record it? Why? Because income तो है ही नहीं. Income तो fourth year में जब भी World Cup, Olympics या फिर कुछ होएगा event तभी record. Is that correct? No. Expenses to be recorded as and when they are incurred. Salary services are rendered. Salary expenses are incurred irrespective of whether FIFA or International Olympics Association recognizes any profit or not. It does not really matter. Matching concept cannot override accrual, and as a result over here we are saying that yes, as per matching concept, ideally if the revenue is recognized in the fourth year, that would have been better, but accrue हो गया है खर्चा. How do we know 4 साल बाद revenue आएगा ही? COVID हो गया, World Cup नहीं हुआ. It does not make sense deferring it. Expenses to be recorded as and when they are incurred. So if it can't be deferred over 4 quarters, 4 years, it can't even be deferred over 4 quarters. Like FIFA or International Olympics Association runs in a way a seasonal business. They will earn a lot of profit every 4 years. Like a firecracker business is also a seasonal business. It will earn profits every 4 quarters. Like can FIFA defer its expenses over 4 quarters, 4 years? So can standard fireworks defer its expenses over 4 quarters? No, it cannot do that. That is a discrete view. Expenses or incomes accruing in that period should be recorded in that period only. All items except income tax generally follow the discrete view. There may be a couple of other exceptions as well. Integral view views the interim period to be a part of a larger financial year income tax is to be accounted for as per the integral view. Now application of income tax, integral view to income tax. First, calculate estimated annual accounting income. In our example, 10 lakhs. It is to be calculated as per books of accounts, that is, we should ignore any carry forward losses of the previous year, but losses of the current year should be considered. I think we have not studied income tax, so maybe we will not understand the concept of carry forward losses. Have you heard, do you know the concept of carry forward losses? What happens actually as per income tax? And we study that. There will be a separate chapter on set off and carry forward. Would be in year 1, if you make a 300 rupee loss. This is as per income tax. Year 2, you make a 300 rupee profit. Ideally, when there is a loss, do you have to pay tax? Common sense. Do you have to pay tax? No. When there is a profit, do you have to pay tax? Yes. In the second year, will you have to pay tax? Sure. Acha, but over here, when 300 of loss was earned, ideally जब भी profit होता तो government कटोरा लेके आ जाता. It charges you tax. So ideally when there is a loss, the government should give you tax back. Does government ever give you tax back? No. However, the government should consider the fact that when the company made 300, I charged tax from you. So when the company loses 300, what do? I allow them to carry forward this loss to be set off in the year when there is a profit, and only on the additional amount will you pay tax. So if in the second year you make 400 rupee of profit, will you pay tax on the entire 400? No. How much will you pay tax on? 400 minus 300, that is equal to 100. That is called as carry forward and set off. That is what they are trying to say, but when you do tax, you will be very comfortable with that. Second, calculate the annual tax expense based on taxable profit. In our example, 1,12,500. As per Income Tax Act, this is calculated after considering carry forward losses of the previous years as well as losses of the current year and the slab rates. You consider everything. Tax का कितना खर्चा, you consider carry forward loss if any, you consider slab rates if any, you consider everything and then determine कितना tax pay करना. Third, calculate the weighted average tax rate, WATR. The weighted average tax rate will be the annual tax expense to be calculated in step 2 upon the annual accounting income in step 1 into 100. Now from an exam perspective, this is more than sufficient. Point 4 is an additional point which we will see if required. For the time being, let us focus on our understanding of material till here. Okay, let us review the questions here. Go to question number 1, I guess. Let us say we go to question number 1. Now, Sincere Corporation is dealing in a seasonal product. Sales pattern of the product quarter wise is first quarter 10%, second quarter again 10%, third quarter ended 31 December 60%, and fourth quarter is 20%. So can we say the third quarter is the prime quarter over here? Information regarding the first quarter ended 30th June is as follows. Sales are 80 crores, salaries are 60 crores, advertisement expenses are 4 crores, and administrative expenses are 8 crores. So what is your total expense? 60 and 4, 64 and 8, 72. Total expense of the first quarter. While preparing interim financial report for the first quarter, Sincere wants to defer 10 crore expenditure to the third quarter on the argument that third quarter is having more sales and therefore third quarter should be debited by more expenditure. Considering the seasonal nature of the business and expenditures are uniform throughout all quarters. So it is like FIFA. Expenditures are uniform throughout all 4 years, but I am getting a huge revenue in the fourth year. So is FIFA allowed to defer any part? वो 10 है, 5 है, 15 है, 20 है, वो secondary है. So this amount is irrelevant. यहाँ पे deferring of 10 happens, deferring of 70 happens, deferring of 2 happens. The question is if the expenses are uniform throughout all quarters. will you be allowed to defer 10 crore worth of expense into the third quarter? Will you be allowed to do that? Yes or no? Well, you can't do it over 4 financial years, you can't even do it over 4 quarters. Calculate the result of the first quarter as per AS 25. Also comment on the company's view. Now, in the first quarter, what is your sales? What is your sales? 80 crores minus expenses. Your total expenses are how much? Is it 72 or 72 minus 10 and only 62? 72. Will deferral be permitted? No, deferral is not permitted, and hence profit. How much is the profit? 8 crores. Are we clear with this? Everyone's clear? Basically, this is profit. As per AS 25, income and expense should be recognized when they are earned and incurred respectively. Therefore, seasonal incomes will be recognized when they occur. Thus, company's view is not as per AS 25. To spread 10 rupees is not correct. Simple. Next, go to question number 2. The accounting year of X Limited ends on 30th September and it makes quarterly presentation. It makes reports quarterly. Okay? However, for the purpose of tax, we'll do this probably later. It's a little tricky. Just a second. Actually, it's common sense driven, but chalo try kar lete. The accounting year of the company ends on 30th September 20x1 and it makes reports quarterly. However, for the purpose of tax, the year ends on 31st March each year. Is it possible that company prepares its books of accounts for year ending 30th September, but for income tax, the year ending has to be 31st March? Is that possible? For the accounting year 1st October 20x0 to 30th September 20x0, the quarterly income is as under. First quarter ending 31st December 20x0, this is 200 crores. Second quarter ending 31st March, 200 crores. Third quarter and fourth quarter. Total is 800 crores. Your average actual tax rate for the financial year ending 31st March 20x1 is 20%. And for the financial year ending 31st March 20x2 is 30%. Calculate tax expense for each quarter. Now, income tax year. What is the income tax year? 1st April 20x0 to 31st March 20x1. During this period, whatever profit was earned, even if 1 rupee was earned, यहाँ पे कोई slab rate taxation नहीं है. Even if 1 rupee was, this is called as flat rate taxation, like companies pay flat rate of tax. Even if 1 rupee was earned, how much tax needs to be paid? 20% of that. However, for the next year, that is 1st April 20x1 to 31st March 20x2, even if 1 rupee was earned, how much was the tax? 30%. Achha, this 200 crores was entirely earned in which year? When the year, in the first year, when the tax was? 2021. So in this quarter, your tax expense should be how much? 40. The second quarter ends on 31st March 20x1. Income earned during this period is chargeable to tax at what rate? 20%. So your tax expense should be 40. Next is quarter ending for 30th June, which means this is quarter from 1st April 20x1 to 30th June 20x1. Every rupee earned in this quarter will be taxed at the rate of? Are we sure about it? 30%, and hence this will be 60. Similar is the case with the next quarter where this will be 60. Are we clear with this? Simple. So basically 40, 40, 60, 60. Are we clear with this? Achha, let us make it a little more complex. Let us say if the company's financial year was 1st November 11 or 1st November 20x0 to 31st October 20x1, then the first quarter will be 1st November to 31st January. 1st November, November, December, January. That entire 3 months is in the year when the tax is 20%. But the problem is second quarter. Quarter 2 over here will be 1st February 20x1 to 30th April 20x1. समझ में आ रहा है? Now in this case, what is happening is a part of this quarter is coming in the first financial year, a part of this quarter is coming in the second financial year. Then how will you calculate tax? At 20, at 30, or what will you do? Perfect. So for the first 2 months, that is February and March, assuming income accrues evenly throughout the year, 200 into 2 by 3, we will say 133 rupees. This 133 must be earned in February and March, which will be at the rate of 20%. And the remaining 200 into 1 by 3, this is equal to 67, must have been earned in April when the rate was 30%, and accordingly you will solve. Are we clear with this? Yes, please. Are we clear? Okay. So this takes care of question number 2. Okay. Next you go to question number 3. Now accountants of Purnima Limited showed a net profit of 7,20,000 for the third quarter of 20x1 after incorporating the following. This is after incorporating the following. What is your given profit? 7,20,000. Maybe you have calculated as per AS25, or maybe you have violated AS25 principles. Bad debt of 40,000 incurred during the quarter. 50% of the bad debts have been deferred to the next quarter. What is the actual bad debt of the current quarter? Ideally, irrespective of what the company has done, how much bad debt expense should be recorded in the current quarter? 40,000. What has the company done? They have deferred 50% of the bad debts. That is 20,000. They have deferred it to the fourth quarter. Can you defer bad debts over 2 financial years? No. So can you defer it over 2 quarters? So what will you have to do? Add 20, less 20, ignore. Add 50%. To find the profit, let us say 7,20,000 is the given profit. You want to find adjusted profit, a certain correct quarterly income. Your given quarterly income is 7,20,000. This 7,20,000 is calculated after deducting 20,000 of bad debts, and remaining 20,000 is deferred in the next. The bad debt 20 and 20 should be 40. We are asked to ascertain the correct quarterly income. Your quarterly income of 7,20,000 is calculated after deducting how much bad debt? 20. Ideally it should be calculated after deducting how much bad debt? 40. Which means what should you do with the additional 20? Add, less, ignore. Subtract. That is right. You will subtract 20 because you want to find the correct quarterly profit. Ideally we should subtract 40. However, it seems we have deferred 20, which means we have subtracted another 20. So we will deduct another 20. Are we clear with this? Yes. Extraordinary loss of 35,000 incurred during the quarter has been fully recognized in this quarter. Is that correct? Should it be recognized? Well, yes, and as a result there will be no adjustment. अच्छा, अगर बोला था this 35,000 has been deferred to the next quarter, then we will have to subtract. We'll say नहीं भाई, loss अगर current quarter का current quarter में ही आना चाहिए. Additional depreciation of 45,000 resulting from a change in the method of charge of depreciation, assuming that 45,000 is a charge for third quarter only. अच्छा, when you study AS 10, accounting standard 10, no, accounting standard 10 says a change in the method of depreciation is a change in accounting estimate. It is not a change in policy. AS 10 says that. In fact, if there is a change in method of inventory, that is accounting policy. But a change from cost model to revaluation model is a change in accounting policy. But change from SLM to WDV is a change in accounting estimate. Achha, change in accounting estimate has to be prospectively given. In the current quarter, there is additional depreciation of 45 because you changed the method. And this 45,000 pertains to the current quarter only. Is there any error over here? 45,000 is additional depreciation because you moved from SLM to WDV or vice versa. That 45,000 pertains to the current quarter only because you moved now, you are charging depreciation under the new method, and under the new method depreciation is higher by 45,000 and you already charged 45,000. Is that correct? Should you have charged 45,000? Yes. Have you charged it? Yes. Then there should be no difference. It is like saying when we look at AS10, if I just recap this, I think you seem to have forgotten it conveniently. So if we recap this over here, when we look at depreciation, so this is depreciation. What does it say? An entity can change the method of depreciation from SLM to WDV or vice versa in case it estimates a change in the pattern of economic benefits to be realized. The change is treated as a change in accounting estimate and hence it needs to be prospectively applied. I've actually changed my estimate. I've changed my method, and because of the changed method there is a higher depreciation. So what? It should be recorded. It is recorded. Will you have to make any changes here? No. And as a result, over here there is no further changes. Ascertain the correct quarterly income. What is the correct quarterly income? 7 lakhs. Are we clear with this? Yes. So for 45,000, no adjustment. So if I go to see, this should ideally be 7 lakhs. So bad debts of 40,000 have been incurred during the current quarter. On this, company has deferred 50%. Therefore, 20,000 should be deducted from 7 lakh 20. Treatment of extraordinary loss should be recorded in the same quarter, which is correct. Additional depreciation of 45,000 is in tune with the AS 25. Hence no adjustments. Therefore, if you want, you can write down below this: adjusted profit equals 7 lakh 20 minus 20 equals 7 lakhs. Are we clear with this? Okay. Next we will go to illustration number 4. Now Intelligent Corporation or I-Corp is dealing in seasonal products. The quarterly sales pattern of these products is given below. Again similar to question 1. This was similar to question 1. Question 1 भी almost similar lines पे है. For the first quarter ending 30th June, I-Corp gives you the following details. You have sales minus expense minus advertisement, all of this. So this seems to be 40 and hence ideally your profit should be 10. 50 minus 40. अभी वापस आपको लगेगा कि चलो डिफर करते हैं. Is deferral allowed? While preparing the interim report for the first quarter, I-Corp wants to defer 21 crores of expenditure to the third quarter on the argument that the third quarter is having more sales. Is that argument correct? And therefore third quarter should be debited by higher expenditure. Considering the seasonal nature of the business and the expenditures are uniform throughout the quarters, calculate the result as per AS 25 and comment on the company's view. The result will show a profit of 10. Company's view is incorrect. Argument given by I-Corp regarding deferral of 21 crores is not tenable as expenditures are uniform throughout all the quarters. Are we clear with this? Acha. Next is more of a theory question. We'll do that later. Even question 6. Whether quarterly financial statements presented under clause 41 of listing agreement entered into between the stock exchange and the listed enterprise meet the definition of interim financial report as per AS 25 and the provisions of AS 25 should be applied on the same. What do you guys think? Should the provisions be applied? There were two provisions. एक होता है presentation provisions, एक होता है recognition provisions. What do you guys think? Should which provision? Both? Presentation should not be applicable. That is right. So your presentation principles to these companies will not apply. However, what about the recognition and measurement principles like income tax, etc.? They should be applicable. Over here they say the recognition and measurement principles as per AS 25 should be applied for items contained in such interim financial statements. However, the regular report, the results presented do not meet the interim financial report because the presentation is not as per AS 25, but the recognition and measurement of these items is very well as per AS 25. Are we clear with this? Now question number 7 is linked to a standard which we are yet to study, AS 28, but we can refer this from the context of inventory. What applies to inventory also applies to PP. Let us say there is a cost of inventory of 100 rupees. The NRV of the inventory is 80. Remember, inventory is measured at lower of cost or NRV, and hence inventory will be recognized as 80 and there will be a write-off of 20 rupees. In the next year, the NRV increases, it becomes 105. Can I reverse the write-off earlier recorded? Can you reverse it? Yes or no? Yes, you can. You can reverse it. I have discussed it. अरे आप revise करो यार. Cost or NRV, whichever is lower. So you will say cost is still 100. Cost is not 80. 80 is carrying value. Cost is still 100. So you will say cost or NRV, whichever is lower. In which case, inventory will appear at 100. Earlier, the same inventory was appearing at 80. Now this inventory is appearing at 100. So 20 rupees. Once you create a provision for bad debt, at a later date, if you think that the debt is not going to go bad, can you reverse a provision for bad debt? Yes. So if you record a provision for inventory, saying that यार मैं जब भी बेचूंगा तभी तो 80 में ही बिकेगा, but now later the sale price increases, can you reverse the write-off? Yes, but you can't take it to 105. You can't take it beyond cost. But the 20 that you have recorded can be reversed. If it can be reversed in the next financial year, can it be reversed in the next quarter as well? Like in quarter 1, your NRV is 80. That same inventory remains unsold, but in quarter 2, the NRV becomes 105. आपको समझ में आ रहा है? Can you reverse that 25 rupees? Yes. 20 rupees to the extent of 20 you can reverse. So from 100 to 80 your inventory comes at 80, so the write-off is 20. That is in the first quarter. In the next quarter that same inventory remains unsold. Like lockdown happened. I was a builder. I thought कि यार मेरा तो अभी inventory बहुत सस्ते में बेचना पड़ेगा. My NRV fell. But then revival happened after the lockdown, and as a result now the builder thinks that the inventory which is unsold, I don't have to sell it at a dirt cheap price. And as a result NRV can also be increased. Are we clear with this? So over here, whether the impairment loss recognized on property, plant and equipment in the first quarter of the financial year can be reversed in the second quarter in that financial year. Can it be reversed? Yes. If it can be reversed over 2 financial years, it can also be reversed over 2 quarters. However, as per AS 28, there will be certain rules which will be given for reversal. If those rules are met, then reversal is very much possible. So over here, in light of the same, impairment loss recognized in one quarter can be reversed in another quarter if favorable indicators existed as per AS 28 and recoverable amount increased in comparison to the earlier year. We have not yet studied this because AS 28 हमने पढ़ा नहीं है. We don't know what recoverable amount is. However, what applies to inventory also applies to PP. Like inventory, if it went from 100 to 80 at a later date, if the NRV becomes 105, then whatever loss you have recorded can be reversed. In a similar way for PP, if there was an impairment under AS 28, which we are yet to study, and later, like let's say you are a cigarette manufacturing company like ITC, and the government bans cigarettes, then there is a big write-off on your machinery, it is now useless. But if the government lifts the ban at a later date, then this machinery is still useful. And hence whatever write-off you have recorded earlier, because now that machine was useless you thought, can be reversed if there was a favorable indicator. Are we getting this? Okay, next you go to question number 9. Go to question number 9. On 30th June 20x1, Asmita incurred 2 lakh rupees net loss from disposal of a business segment. On 31st July, the company paid 60,000 for property taxes assessed for the calendar year 20x1. How will the above transactions be included in the determination of net income of Asmita for the 6 months interim period ended 30th September. Read the case again. What is the interim period in this question? 1st April 20x1 to 30th September 20x1. Sir, कैसे समझ में आया? Question says net income for Asmita for 6 months ended 30th September. That means the relevant period for which you are preparing the interim period report seems to be 1st April, 6 months ending 30th September, which means if incomes have accrued, if expenses have accrued during these 6 months, you will record it. If incomes and expenses could have been deferred beyond, then you will defer it. So there are two items over here. First is net loss on disposal, let us say of a business segment. Acha, when is this disposal happening? 30th June. Is it within the interim period? Is it within the interim period? Yes. And as a result, what do you think about the loss? Should it be recorded? Yes. So your net income should be calculated after subtracting 2 lakhs of loss. Will you defer the 2 lakhs over 2 half years? That is 1 lakh in the first half year, 1 lakh in the second half year. No, you can't defer it over 2 financial years. You can't even defer it over 2 quarters or 2 half years. Acha, if instead of 30th June, the sale had happened on 30th of October, then will your solution change? If the sale had happened on 30th October, will your solution change? Yes, in such a case, nothing will be recorded in the current half year. Sir, why? अरे sale तो October में हुआ. Your interim period ends in September, and as a result, the entire 2 lakhs will be recorded in the next half year. अरे बराबर कि नहीं? Okay, so this is net loss on disposal of a business segment. Further, there were property taxes for the calendar year. Achha, calendar year means year starting what? Jan to December. So property tax 60,000 rupees is the expense for the entire 12 months. Will I recognize the, Achha, I am paying this in July, undoubtedly, which is within the interim period. But is property taxes recorded when they are paid? No, they are recorded as and when they are accrued. It is property tax for the entire 12 months. So when should it be recorded? Well, over the entire 12 months, pro rata, proportionately. And as a result, property tax expense in this half year, कितना property tax expense record होना चाहिए? 60,000 into 6 by 12, which is equal to 30,000. Are we clear with this? Acha, for your reference, question does not ask you, but a lot of students say, sir, but 31st July को entry क्या होना चाहिए? Because you are actually paying something account debit to bank. You are actually paying how much? 60. But you are recording a property tax expense only of how much? In your P&L of how much? 30. What about the remaining? Well, for the last 3 months, can we say property tax is prepaid? So this is property. So this is, let us say, for the relevant half year, we can say property tax prepaid, or basically prepaid property tax. Prepaid items you show as current asset, if you remember. For how many months is the property tax prepaid? 3 months, October, November, December, and hence 60,000 into 3 by 12, which comes to 15,000. Acha, what about the remaining? Well, I must have created a payable for the first 3 months. Question is not asking you any of that, so we are not recording it, but there must be a property tax payable which must be created in the first 3 months. As per accrual, you must have passed the entry property tax expense account debit for January, February, March to property tax payable. Now that you are paying it, the property tax is paid. And as a result, property tax payable account debit, this will be another 15,000. Question asks you what is the impact on the net income. On net income, it is only this 30,000. The remaining 15 will appear as prepaid. The remaining 15 will be adjusting the opening payable. but they will not impact the profit and loss account. Question says what is the impact on net income? Net income पे only 30,000 का impact आएगा for property taxes and 2 lakh का impact on sale of business segment. Are we clear with this? Yes, it's an interesting question this. So over here 30,000 would be reported as an expense for 6 months ended, and earlier entire 2 lakhs as loss on disposal of business segment. Are we clear with this? Yes, okay. We'll go to question number 10. You should get this correct. Try to do this on your own, please. An enterprise reports quarterly, estimates an annual income of rupees 10 lakhs. Assume tax rates on the first 5 lakhs at 30% and the balance income at 40%. The estimated quarterly income are 75,000, 2 lakh 50, 3 lakh 75 and 3 lakhs. एक बार इसको total करके देखें. 75 plus 250 plus 375 plus 3 lakhs. How much is that? $10 lakhs. Is that given to us? Yes, in the first line. Even if it was not given, we could have totaled and found this. Calculate the tax expense to be recorded in each quarter. What are the steps that you need to follow? You need to calculate weighted average tax rate. But what is the first thing you need to find for weighted average tax rate? Quarterly income or annual income? Annual income. Remember, this is approach where you take the entire year as a base. So you take the estimated annual income. Second, you find what tax, quarterly tax or annual tax? Annual tax. And once you find the annual tax, you will say, अगर पूरे साल में I'm earning this amount and पूरे साल में I'm paying this much tax, then for every rupee, how much tax am I paying? Weighted average tax rate. Calculate the weighted average tax rate according to you in fair, please. Are we done? So what is the estimated annual accounting income? 10 lakhs. Acha, what is the tax on that? 5 lakhs into 30% plus another 5 lakhs into, acha, another 5 lakhs kahan se aaya? This is 10 minus 5. And hence this comes to 3 lakh 50. So if I calculate the weighted average tax rate, what is the weighted average tax rate? 3 lakh 50 on the base of 10 lakhs, and hence in percentage terms it comes to what? 35%. Question says calculate the quarterly tax. So if I sit to calculate the quarterly tax in Q1, how much is the income? 75,000 into 35%. In Q2, 2 lakh 50 into what? 35%. In Q3, 75 into 35%. In Q4, 3 lakhs into 35%. Now the institute has always stopped even at final CA at this level, so I am pretty sure even at CA Inter they would stop over here. But a doubt might arise in your mind that what if the estimates of income change? For 1 or 2 quarters I think this is perfect, but what if the estimates later change? So if the estimates change, just in case they do, in the quarter when they change, you will try to find that what is the tax payable till date. Like for example, in our example, just in case this happens, that is a first quarter, second quarter, things are going hunky-dory, but in the fourth quarter actually you earn 4 lakhs and now you think going forward I will earn 5 lakhs. In which case what will happen is we will say that our total estimated income will now be 1 plus 2 plus 4 plus 5. In the first 2 quarters we thought 1 and 2 कमाएंगे, but third quarter में हमको jackpot लग गया and we thought that we are earning 1 lakh more in the third quarter, we will also earn 1 lakh more in the fourth quarter, and as a result our total income will be 12 lakhs. So what will we do in the third quarter? We will again sit and calculate. देखो Q1 में तो जो हो गया वो हो गया, Q2 में जो हो गया वो हो गया. Changes in estimates, this is an estimate change, you cannot retrospectively restate. So this is done, but when I go to Q3 I will try to find the revised weighted average tax rate. Why will I try to find the revised weighted average tax rate? Let us say if I go to Q3, the revised weighted average tax rate. Why my annual accounting income is now 12 lakhs. It's no longer 10 lakhs. And what is my tax? 0 plus 12,500 for the next 2,50,000. That's 2,50,000 into 5%. And then for another 5 lakhs, 5 lakhs into 20%, that is 1 lakh. Is there anything still remaining? Another 2 lakhs are remaining. अभी आपका 12 हो गया. So the last 2 lakhs will be taxed at the rate of 30% and hence 60,000 का यहाँ पे tax लगेगा. And hence your total amount will be 172,500. This is 172,500 divided by 12 lakhs. In percentage this is 14.375. अभी past में जो हो गया सो हो गया. So what do we do in quarter 3? We say what is the income earned till date? 1 plus 2 plus 4. That means 7 lakhs is earned till date. Have you done contract costing? AS7? In AS7 what did we do? The stage of completion might change. You say revenue till date less earlier recorded. Remember that? It's the same process. We say our estimate to change हो सकता है. So we'll say till date 7 lakhs into 14.375% should have been recorded as tax. However, in the earlier quarter, 11,250 and 22,500 was recorded, minus 11,250 minus 22,500, and hence this will be 7 lakh into 14.375%. This is 1 lakh. 625 minus let's say 33,750, and whatever is the difference, this is 66,875 will be the adjusted tax for the third quarter. We will not go back and change anything of the first or the second quarter. This I don't think will come to you in the exam, but if it comes, we have written this additional part in your theory just in case it comes. So over here if you see this special case, tax expense for a quarter is accounting profit or loss for the quarter into weighted average tax rate, like you did in this question number 10. You took the expense, you took the profit and into 35%, like you did in question 10. However, step 4 is possible if there is no change in the estimates. In case the estimate subsequently changes, we need to recalculate the WETR, in our example 14.375%, and based on the revised annual estimate and tax expense should be recorded as follows: accounting income till date into the revised WETR minus tax earlier recorded. This is just in case it comes. अगर ये नहीं समझ में आता है छोड़ दे, कोई टेंशन नहीं है, एग्जाम में आने का चांस नेक्स्ट टू नील. But in case you have this doubt कि but यार ये तो estimates can change, then this is how you will address it. Are we clear with this? Acha. So this is a similar case on that examples that we were discussing. Another special case I have mentioned is carry forward loss. This has not been tested in the institute material, but just in case it comes, X Limited has carry forward loss of 100 crores from the previous year. It earns 100 in quarter 1 and expects to earn another 100 in each of the quarters. Calculate tax expense for quarter 1 and 2 taking a flat tax rate of 30%. Ignore surcharge and cess and also ignore deferred tax. Achha, what is the first step? Which income? Accounting income or tax income? accounting income, because you are doing working in books of accounts. In books of accounts, in first quarter you are expecting to earn how much? 100. In all the other 3 quarters, each quarter you are expecting to earn how much? 100. So can I say over the 4 quarters your expected annual accounting income is 400? Yes. Acha, what is your estimated tax? Will it be 400 into 30%? Will it be 400 into 30%? No. Why no? There is a carry forward loss. And hence, like we said, if there is a carry forward loss in the current entire year, I earned 400, but there was a carry forward loss of 100 of the last year. And hence I will pay tax only on 300 into 30%, that comes to what? 90. And hence your weighted average tax rate would be 90 divided by 400 comes to. So for each quarter, whether it is quarter 1 or quarter 2, as I earn 100 of income, I will recognize 22.5, that is equal to 22.5 as tax. Same is the case even in the second quarter. Acha, why are we saying this? Because otherwise, if you had followed FIFO, first quarter would have said, first quarter I have earned 100 rupees, 100 minus 100, 0. Taxable income, and hence no tax. So first quarter would have said 0 tax. Second quarter would have said, abhi set off ho gaya to 30% tax. But wo to galat hai na, why should the benefit enjoyed only by the first quarter? Are we getting this? And as a result, this is a case in case carry forward loss comes, though once you do income tax, you again come back to this, you will understand this better. Ajay, special cases, if there is a change in accounting policy, tell me, if there is a change in accounting policy, do you adjust it prospectively or retrospectively? Retrospectively. Estimate is prospectively applied. If there is a change in accounting policy, that is FIFO to weighted average, the effect would be retrospectively adjusted in each quarter to which it pertains. Second, application of AS 25 to listed companies, we did a sum on that. The presentation and disclosure requirements would be based on the formats prescribed by 41 of the listing agreement and not as per AS 25. However, the recognition and measurement principles of AS 25 continue to apply to the listed companies. That is, the discrete and integral approaches will apply. In case an entity prepares a consolidated interim report, standalone report is optional. If you want to prepare, you prepare, otherwise it is not required. And the last part is, over here you can add comparatives. How do I have to give a comparative? So basically there are 3 statements. One is the balance sheet, one is the profit and loss. Let us say we are talking about the quarter. Let us say this is quarter 2. From 1st July 23 to 30th September 23. अब बराबर से समझो, एग्जाम के लिए इतना इंपॉर्टेंट है नहीं, बट द स्टडी मटेरियल हैज द सम, सो वी आर डिस्कसिंग व्हाट आर द कंपैरेटिव पीरियड्स. अच्छा, बैलेंस शीट इज एज ऑन डेट और फॉर द पीरियड? बैलेंस शीट इज एज ऑन डेट और फॉर द पीरियड? इतना बैलेंस शीट, अच्छा अच्छा, तो बैलेंस शीट आप पूरे यानी एक दिन पे दिखाते हो या पूरे साल का दिखाते हो? नो नो, बैलेंस शीट इज एज ऑन डेट. क्या कर रहे हो? बैलेंस शीट इज एज ऑन डेट. इनकम स्टेटमेंट इज फॉर द ईयर. बैलेंस शीट ऑन 31st March shows you the assets and liabilities on 31st March, but income statement for the year shows you incomes and expenses for the entire year. बराबर क्या नहीं? सो बैलेंस शीट तो एज ऑन डेट होता है. बैलेंस शीट एज एट लिखते हो ना, थोड़ी ना बैलेंस शीट फॉर द ईयर लिखते हो. इनकम स्टेटमेंट फॉर द ईयर आता है, बैलेंस शीट तो एज ऑन डेट आता है ना यार. ओके, सो ओवर हियर इफ यू लुक एट द बैलेंस शीट, लेट अस से बैलेंस शीट, it is as on date. So this is 30th September 23. What is a comparative balance sheet to be shown? The standard says of the latest financial year that has ended. You don't have to look at the last quarter, earlier year's quarter, no. Directly 31st March 23. That must be the last financial year. This is as per the last financial year. You will show the balance sheet as per the last financial year. Barabar? When I look at the P&L on the other hand, P&L requires a lot of disclosure. Current financial quarter, this is 1st July 23 to 30th September 23. Against that, a comparative quarter, that is 1st July 22 to 30th September 22. Do we understand it? we show it for the current quarter and also the previous year's comparable quarter. Last year यही quarter में आपने कितना कमाया. Second is cumulative, that is year to date. So this is cumulative, that is 1st April 23 to 30th September 23. How much that you have earned? Cumulative of the current year, and similarly 1st April 22 to 30th September 22. This is cumulative of the last year. Quarter of the current year, quarter of the last year. आपको समझ में आया? So यहाँ पे बहुत सारे, so basically current quarter and the comparable last year's quarter, year to date of the current year and the comparable year to date of the last year. But when you look at something like cash flow statement or statement of changes in equity, in cash flow you directly show this cumulative, that is 1st April 23 to 30th September 23 and comparable 1st April 22 to 30th September 22. यहाँ पे करंट क्वार्टर का कैश फ्लो आपको नहीं दिखाना है. So long story short, balance sheet you show as on date and then comparable balance sheet will be the last financial year. P&L you show for the quarter, comparable quarter, year to date, comparable year to date. Cash flow only year to date and comparable year to date. Are we clear with this? Acha, you can note this down, but before that we'll just apply this in the sense there is a theory question, question number 5. What are your periods for which interim financial statements are required to be presented? You are required to answer your question in light of preparation of financial statements for the period ended as on 31st December 11, financial year is 11-12. Acha, if it is 31st December 11, then your balance sheet will be 31st December 11 and comparable 31st March 11. Are you yes or no? But when I look at P&L, I will have to show quarter ended. So 1st October 11 to 31st December 11. Comparable earlier year. 1st October 10 to 31st December 10. Is there anything else that I also need to show? Year to date. That is 1st April 11 to 31st December 11 and comparable 1st April 10 to 31st December 10. So you have to show for P&L current period and cumulative for the current. This is current period and this is cumulative period and सामने वो comparative period का भी वही दिखाएगा. But when I look at cash flow, cumulative only. So you will just show 1st April 11 to 31st December 11 and comparable 1st April 10 to 31st December 10. Are we clear? P&L, current quarter and cumulative, cash flow only cumulative, balance sheet as on date and the last financial year. Are we clear with this? It is only cumulative and then they have given the solution. Are we clear with this? Achha, there is one more question, that is question number 8, which is linked to AS15. Now you are yet to do AS15, but अभी के लिए वो कर लेते हैं, discuss कर लेते हैं. In view of provision of AS25 on interim reporting, on what basis will you calculate an interim period provision in respect of defined benefit schemes like pension, gratuity for employees? You will say this is as per the actuarial valuation. What does it mean you will do when you do AS15? Actuarial valuation of earlier year. So your working would be based on actually determined rates of the earlier years. Just write this, you will do this when you do AS15. Are we clear with this? And the last question, question 11. Now Antar Bharti Limited reported a profit before tax of 4 lakhs for the third quarter ended 30th September 20x1. Acha, so they have reported a profit before tax of 4 lakhs. On inquiry, you observe the following. Give the treatment required as per AS 25. So, what is your reported? What is your given profit before tax? 4 lakhs. Go one by one. Adjustments. Important. Dividend income of 4 lakhs received during the quarter has been recognized only to the extent of 1 lakh. Is that correct? Ideally, how much should be recorded? Ideally, entire 4 should be recorded, but out of that, how much is already recorded? 1 lakh. So, adjustment should be for what? Additional 3 lakh. Add or subtract? Perfect. So, this is 4 minus 1, that is equal to 3. You will add. This is dividend. Acha, if instead of dividend, this was interest income for the entire year, then is 1 correct? Yes. Second, 80% of the sales promotion expenses of 15 lakhs incurred in the third quarter have been deferred to the fourth quarter as the sales in the fourth quarter are high. We have done various seasonal business questions. Can you do that deferral? No. What is the total expense? 15. 15 में से कितना defer हुआ है? 80. That means 12 has been deferred. 3 must have been recorded in the current quarter only. Ideally, this 12 should be recorded where? In the current quarter. Where has been recorded? Fourth quarter. So what do you think we should do? Add, subtract, ignore. Subtract. How much? 12. Not entire 15. Why? 20% must already be recorded because only 80% is deferred. Okay. In the third quarter, the company changed the depreciation method from WDV to SLM, which resulted in an excess depreciation of 12 lakhs. The entire amount has been debited in the third quarter, though the share of the third quarter is only 3 lakhs. अच्छा, ये शायद अपने को देखना पड़ेगा. Maybe this is an old version. We'll do that in some time. दूसरे questions देख लेते हैं. 2 lakh rupees extraordinary gain received in the third quarter was allocated equally to the third and the fourth quarter. It has to be only to the third quarter. But this is a gain. We must have recorded 1 already. How much should be additionally recorded? Additional 1 should be recorded. Add or subtract? Add. Cumulative loss resulting from change in the method of inventory valuation was recognized in the third quarter of rupees 3 lakhs. Out of this loss, 1 lakh relates to previous quarters. Achha, this is the method on change of inventory valuation. A method of a change in inventory valuation is a change in accounting policy, and a change in accounting policy has to be prospectively applied or retrospectively, which means I have recorded the cumulative 3 lakhs, but 1 lakh relates to the previous quarters. So what should you do? I have recorded a loss of 3 lakh. Ideally, I could have recorded only a loss of 2 lakhs, but I have recorded a loss of 3 lakhs. What will I do? Add 1 lakh. A change in accounting policy is retrospectively applied. And sale of investment for the first quarter resulted in a gain of 20 lakhs. When should this gain be recorded ideally? It should be recorded in the first quarter. The company has apportioned this equally to all the 4 quarters. Is that correct? No. I mean, that means 20 divided by 4, 555 is recorded in each quarter. So when this 4 was calculated, in that the 5 of gain must be recorded. Should it be recorded? What should you do? Less. How much? 5. Acha, this point 3 is actually an older point. Before the AS10 was revised, I think they've updated the solution correctly. They've said excess depreciation charge in the third quarter due to change in method. 0 ka adjustment. Because it's a change in accounting estimate. Now, honestly, it has not been drafted properly. Change in accounting policy to retrospective change. If it is a change in accounting estimate, it has to be recorded. So, we will record the entire thing. Ideally, we will take only the share of the third quarter only. So, ideally, this 12 lakh should also entirely be for the third quarter. Bhi kaise 12 and 3 ke apne ko pata nahi hai. But ideally, the change in estimates has to be prospectively applied. We can even skip this part over here. Ideally, we should, so as per AS10 PP, if there's a change in depreciation method, it's a change which is a change in accounting estimate. AS as per AS5 and hence applied prospectively. Therefore, no adjustment would be required to change the method of depreciation. This is treated as a change in estimate. तो आइडियली ये लाइन सिर्फ अपन निकाल सकते हैं, एंटायर अमाउंट हैज बीन डेबिटेड, दो शेयर ऑफ थर्ड क्वार्टर इज 3 lakhs, that is irrelevant. I mean, the entire amount is debited, must be pertaining to the current quarter only. It's a change in estimate, has to be prospectively applied. So ये अगर अपन निकाल दे, so your adjusted profit will be 4 plus 3 minus 12 plus 2 minus 5 comes to negative 8. Adjusted profit should be negative 8 and you are getting negative 8. ऊपर है change in accounting policy. Change in accounting policy will have to be change in accounting policy, if any, has to be retrospectively applied. So this is accounting policy change, whereas this is an accounting estimate change. Are we clear with this? Yes. Okay. So that takes care of AS 25. ठीक है? चलो, we'll stop for the day.